Jimin writes a note on Jungkook's palm. When the light comes on, his message shakes hearts. Don't scream, no matter what you see. The whispered command slammed into Jungkook's ears as the light snapped off, plunging the basement into a darkness so total it felt alive. His breath hitched, his chest rising and falling too fast, too loud. Across from him, he could hear Jimin's heartbeat like a war drum, steady, deliberate, terrified. Then fingers, trembling, urgent, wrapped around Jungkook's hand. Jimin's skin was icy, damp with sweat. And then came the scratching sensation, soft but firm, his nail carving a message into Jungkook's open palm. Jungkook couldn't see, he couldn't even blink, but he felt it, every stroke, every curve. Letters one by one, tattooed not in ink but in panic. It's not me. Silence, long, too long. And then the light exploded back on. Jungkook squinted, his eyes adjusting, and the world came back in violent clarity. The basement wasn't empty anymore. She was standing there. The girl they buried last winter. Jungkook didn't scream. He stared, frozen, muscles locked, jaw trembling, throat dry. She was the same, exactly the same, pale lips, crimson ribbon still tied around her left wrist, the same white uniform, but it wasn't her. It couldn't be because she had been dead. Jimin had. His thought stopped short. Jimin. Jungkook looked to his right. But the boy who had clutched his hand moments ago was now several feet away, sitting motionless, eyes wide, pupils dilated. His face was drained of color. Not panic, not shock. Recognition. The girl took a step forward. The floorboards creaked under her weight, but there was no echo. The sound died midair like it was being swallowed by something hungry. Jungkook's fists curled, and the message scratched into his palm pulsed like a wound. It's not me. The girl's eyes were locked on Jimin. Hello, she said. Her voice was soft, melodic, but the air shifted, colder, heavier. Jungkook felt his stomach twist. Something was wrong with her smile. It stretched too far, too slow, like it was being puppeteered from the inside. Jimin didn't answer. He was shaking. Jungkook knew Jimin, knew the way he covered his mouth when he was nervous, the way he rubbed the back of his neck when lying, the way his eyes flickered left when hiding something. And right now, Jimin was still. Too still. The girl took another step. Then another. And suddenly, Jungkook saw it. A flicker barely visible of something moving beneath her skin, like shadows swimming under a thin layer of glass. Not veins, not blood. Something else. Something trying to get out. She reached out her hand. Jimin flinched. Why did you leave me there? She asked. Jungkook turned sharply to Jimin, whose lips had begun to part, slow, reluctant. But he wasn't looking at her. He was looking at Jungkook. And in that moment, Jungkook felt it, the betrayal, the unbearable weight of a truth he hadn't been told. The message on his palm burned. It's not me. But Jimin was right there. So what did he mean? Who was who? And why now? The light above them flickered again. This time, it stayed on. And none of them moved. You knew, Jungkook hissed, his voice trembling not with fear but fury. You knew she'd come back. Jimin didn't answer. He stood frozen, his mouth slightly open, like a confession had caught in his throat and refused to come out. His hands, those same hands that had written the message in Jungkook's palm, were now trembling by his sides. The girl tilted her head, her long black hair swaying as if caught in a breeze only she could feel. Her eyes never left Jimin. Say it, she whispered. Say my name. Jungkook's eyes darted between them, mind racing. Her name, her goddamn name, why couldn't he remember it? It was like the syllables had been erased, not just from his memory but from the air itself. A hole where a name should have been. Jimin finally moved, his gaze dropped to the floor. You're not real, he said quietly. You're not her. I remember everything, she said. Her voice didn't rise. That made it worse. It was too calm. The lake, the ice, the scream, the silence. You were gone. Because you let me drown. Jungkook felt the air in the room tighten like a noose. "Jimin," he said, "what the hell is going on?" Jimin's jaw clenched. "I didn't mean to. I swear to God I didn't." "You lied to me," Jungkook snapped. "You said she ran away. You said we shouldn't talk about it again. You made me bury it." "Because she wasn't supposed to come back," Jimin screamed. Silence. Then, "Who said that?" Jungkook asked quietly. Jimin took a step back. The girl didn't move, but her smile grew. Her voice was sugar-laced venom. "Tell him, Jimin. Tell him what the red ribbon means." "Shut up," Jimin muttered. "I remember the way you held me under." I said shut up. Jimin lunged, not at her, but at the wall behind her. He slammed his fists against it, cracking the plaster. Dust rained down. He was shaking, growling, losing whatever grip he had left. "She's not real," he breathed. She's not her. She's a shadow. That's all, just a goddamn echo." Jungkook stared at him. "You're losing it." "No," Jimin snapped, turning toward him, eyes wild. "You don't get it. This isn't about her. It never was. It's about us. What we did. What we tried to forget. And now it's coming back." The girl took a slow step forward. Her eyes were glowing now, faintly. Unnaturally. It wasn't human, not anymore. "Do you remember the pact?" she asked. Jungkook blinked. "What pact?" But Jimin's expression changed. He remembered. "Blood and silence," the girl whispered. "3 drops on the mirror, 1 lie for every truth you break." "No," Jimin shook his head violently. "That was just a stupid ritual, just something we made up." "You took my voice," she said, "but you couldn't kill my name." She reached into the pocket of her uniform and pulled out a torn piece of paper, folded, stained. She held it out toward Jungkook. He didn't move. "Take it," she said. "You're the only one who never lied to me." "Don't," Jimin said, stepping in. "Jungkook, don't touch it, don't even look at it." "What the hell is it?" Jimin's voice broke. "It's the beginning." Jungkook reached forward anyway. He took the note. It was cold, damp, like it had been underwater for a long, long time. He opened it slowly. There was 1 sentence. "When the 7th lie is spoken, the mirror opens." The basement light exploded, shattering in a burst of glass and sparks. Darkness consumed them again. Jimin screamed, not a sound of fear, but of raw, unfiltered rage, the kind that tore open old wounds. And then there was her laugh. Low, musical, cruel. Jungkook dropped the note. It was burning, smoldering from the edges like it had been lit from inside. When the emergency lights flickered on seconds later, she was gone. But on the wall behind her, scratched deep into the wood, was a name. Yoonha. Jimin's knees buckled. He fell to the floor. Jungkook stared at the name, breath caught in his throat. "I remember now," he whispered. "She was the one you loved." Jimin didn't respond. Because he was crying, not out of guilt, but terror. And as Jungkook turned to face him, he finally understood. Yoonha had never come back for revenge. She had come to collect. "You don't understand what she is now," Jimin whispered, staring at the scorched remains of the note, still curled like a dying leaf on the floor. His voice was hoarse, his lips trembling with a confession he wasn't ready to give. "That's not her. That's what we made of her." Jungkook stepped forward, fury swelling in his chest like a rising tide. "No more riddles, Jimin. No more lies. You buried her. You lied to me. You lied to asterisk everyone." Jimin's laugh was bitter and self-loathing. "You think this is about a lie, that this ends with the truth." Jungkook grabbed him by the collar, slamming him back into the cracked wall. "Start talking, or I swear to God." "You'll what, beat the truth out of me? Go ahead," Jimin said, eyes wet but defiant. "But it won't change the fact that we called something that night, and we didn't send it back." The words sank into Jungkook like ice. "What did you call?" Jimin didn't blink. "A trade." The air felt like it folded in on itself. "What kind of trade?" "Her," Jimin said. "For me." Silence cracked the room like thunder. Jungkook's hand loosened. His breath caught. You traded her life. No, Jimin said sharply. I tried to take her place. But the words didn't make sense. They twisted in the air, broken puzzle pieces that didn't fit. Jungkook backed away slowly. We were both broken, Jimin continued, voice barely above a whisper. Yoonha and I, after everything that happened that winter. I thought if I went instead of her, maybe it would fix things. Maybe it would be enough. But she wouldn't let me. She took my place in the pact. Jungkook's throat tightened. Why would she do that? Jimin looked up, tears streaking his face. Because she loved me, and I let her die for it. Jungkook turned away. His fists clenched so tight his knuckles turned white. Rage and sorrow danced in his chest, clawing for release. Behind them, a sudden gust of wind slammed the basement door shut. It hadn't been open. The fluorescent emergency lights flickered again, buzzing, stuttering, casting everything in ghostly, strobe-like pulses. And then came the whispers. Dozens of them. From the walls, from the floor, from inside their ears. You never buried me, a voice breathed, echoing all around them. You just covered the truth. Jungkook spun around. The name carved on the wall was gone. In its place now were 7 tally marks, each dripping ink-black liquid that ran against gravity, upward toward the ceiling. Jimin backed away, muttering, No, 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 she's counting. She's almost at 7. Jungkook turned. What happens at 7? The mirror opens, Jimin whispered, eyes wide, and what we left behind comes through. From the shadows, a mirror emerged. It wasn't there before. An old, bronze-framed monstrosity, tall as a door, covered in dust and blood-streaked handprints. But its surface was glassy and rippling like water. Something moved just beneath the surface. Shapes, hands, faces. One face. Yoonha. But this time, she wasn't alone. Beside her were 2 more figures, one missing eyes, the other missing a mouth. Jungkook stepped back, breath caught. What the hell is this? Jimin dropped to his knees. It's the cost. The mirror began to hum. Low at first, like distant thunder, then louder, resonating in their bones. It called to them, pulled at their thoughts, their memories. Jungkook blinked, and for a moment he was no longer in the basement. He was at the lake again. Snow falling. Ice cracking. Yoonha screaming. Jimin standing beside him, cold, expressionless. No one moved. No one jumped in. Jungkook gasped, yanked violently back into the basement. He stumbled, falling to his knees beside Jimin. She's making us remember, Jimin whispered. Everything. The mirror pulsed. A voice echoed from within. You said you loved me. It was Yoonha's voice, but softer, sadder, more human. Jungkook stood, trembling. I did, I still do. Then why did you look away? I didn't. But you didn't jump. Jungkook felt his stomach drop. He remembered now. She had screamed for help. And he had frozen. He had looked to Jimin. And Jimin had said, it's too late. So he believed him. The guilt hit him like a freight train, hollowing him out from the inside. I'm sorry, Jungkook said, choking on the words. I was scared, I didn't know. The mirror cracked. One line. Then another. The glass began to splinter. She's not after revenge, Jimin whispered, staring into the shards. She's after balance. Jungkook turned sharply. What do you mean? The mirror doesn't take souls, it trades them. A sudden shriek pierced the air as the basement trembled. Lights exploded overhead. A voice roared through the room. Choose. The mirror burned bright. 2 figures emerged from the glass. Yoonha. And a second figure. Jungkook blinked. It was asterisk him. An identical Jungkook, blank-eyed, hollow, but alive. Jimin scrambled backward. No, no, don't listen to it, it's making copies. It's offering you a way out. Jungkook stared at the figure. His doppelganger stared back. Expressionless. The mirror pulsed again. Choose. And then Yoonha's voice. Only one truth survives. The lights blew out. and the decision began. "You're not me," Jungkook snarled, his voice hoarse, breath ragged, eyes locked on the doppelganger that had stepped from the mirror like a memory given flesh. The double tilted its head. Same tousled hair, same soft features, but the eyes, those weren't his eyes. They were dull, too still. No fear, no guilt, no soul. Jimin rose shakily to his feet. "It's not a copy," he said, voice laced with dread. "It's a asterisk replacement. That's what the mirror does. It offers illusions. The perfect version of you. One that doesn't hesitate. One that doesn't remember. One that never flinched when she screamed." Jungkook took a step back, blood pounding in his ears. Why would it offer that? Jimin's eyes were glassy. Because it knows we'll choose comfort over pain. The mirror glowed brighter. The false Jungkook stepped forward, gaze dead and determined, like a machine with one task: become real. And then Yoonha spoke. "Every time you lie to yourself," she said softly, "he gets stronger." Jungkook turned to her, no longer pale and cold, but warm, shimmering like a dream he had buried too deep. Her voice wasn't vengeful anymore. It was full of sorrow, disappointment. He trembled. "You're making me choose between you and him." "No," she replied, "between who you were and who you've pretended to be." Jimin slammed his fist against the wall, startling them both. "It's not just about him. It's about all of us. I feel her too. I hear her in my sleep. I see her when I close my eyes. You think I don't hate myself for what happened?" Yoonha turned to him slowly. "You should." Jimin's breath hitched, his voice broke. "I didn't mean for it to happen. I loved you, I still." "Then why did you let me drown?" "I tried to save you. You held me under." The accusation was a scalpel. Jimin staggered like he'd been struck. Jungkook's mind was spiraling. The mirror, the double, the whispers, the weight of a memory that felt like it had claws. "No," he whispered to himself. "She slipped. The ice broke. It wasn't anyone's fault." "That's your sixth lie," Yoonha said gently, and the mirror cracked again. Another tally mark etched itself into the wall in black fire. Jungkook's voice dropped. "6. "One more," Jimin murmured. "One more and it opens fully." The doppelganger stopped walking. It was waiting for the final lie, for entry, for permission. Jungkook clutched his head. What was the pact really? What did we do? Jimin's silence was answer enough. "Tell me," Jungkook shouted. "If there's any part of you left, tell me the truth." Jimin closed his eyes. "It was never meant to happen. The mirror was part of the ritual we found online. A stupid thing, a dare, we were drunk. We joked about trading pain for peace. I cut my palm. You did too. Yoonha." His voice dropped into a whisper. "She said she'd offer her name." Jungkook's entire body went cold. Her name. That's what the mirror takes first. Identity, memory. The more you deny someone's truth, the less real they become, until all that's left is a shadow. Jungkook's knees gave out and he slumped to the floor. "I forgot her name. I forgot her asterisk face. We both did. We buried her before she even died." And now the mirror wants payment. A violent pulse slammed through the room like a heartbeat. The false Jungkook blinked for the first time. And smiled. Jimin stepped forward. "No," he muttered. "No, I won't let it happen." He reached into his pocket and pulled something out. A red ribbon. It was torn at the edges, frayed and stained with something dark and dried. He wrapped it around his wrist and stepped toward the mirror. Yoonha's eyes widened. "Jimin, don't." He didn't look at her. His eyes were locked on the double. "If someone has to go in, it should be me." Jungkook scrambled up. "No, we don't know what'll happen." "I asterisk do," Jimin's voice cracked. "Because I was the one who dragged her out there. I was the one who wanted to test it. I was the one who laughed when the ice cracked. You froze. I watched. You tried to pull her out. I hesitated. I calculated. I thought maybe if she disappears, I'd finally matter more than her." Silence. Yoonha's expression softened, not in forgiveness, but in grief. "You were already more to me," she whispered, "and you killed that." Jimin smiled sadly. "Then I'll fix it." He stepped in front of the mirror. The doppelganger reached for him. And then Jungkook moved. He threw himself between them, shoving Jimin out of the way just as the mirror's surface split wide open like a mouth. A vortex of light and shadow howled out, pulling air and sound and memory with it. The ribbon ripped from Jimin's wrist. Jungkook turned his head, meeting Yoonha's eyes one last time. "I'm sorry," he said, "for forgetting, for freezing, for leaving you in the cold." She nodded once. A single tear slid down her cheek. And then the mirror swallowed him whole. The vortex closed. Silence returned. Jimin collapsed to the ground, panting, staring at the now empty glass. But it wasn't empty. His reflection stared back. And behind him, in the mirror's world, Jungkook opened his eyes. He was standing in the snow. And Yoonha was holding his hand. Jungkook gasped as his breath crystallized midair, vanishing into the whiteness that surrounded him. Snowflakes hovered, unmoving, suspended in time like fragments of a paused memory. The silence was absolute, thick and strange, as if the world around him had forgotten how to make sound. He turned. Yoonha stood beside him, her hand still wrapped around his. But this wasn't the same girl from the basement. Here, in this mirror world, she looked alive. Soft warmth flickered behind her eyes, and her skin, once ghost pale, now glowed with a blush of color. She smiled at him, but not with joy. It was the kind of smile you give someone before goodbye. "Where are we?" Jungkook asked, his voice faint, swallowed by the stillness. Yoonha looked up at the sky, blank and white like painted canvas. "Memory, not yours, not mine, ours." Jungkook pulled his hand away, gently but firmly. "Why did you bring me here?" "You stepped in," she replied. "I didn't make you choose, you did that yourself." "I did it for Jimin." Her smile faded. "No, you did it because you're afraid to let go." He flinched. "What is this place, really?" She turned, and as she did, the frozen fields shifted. The white around them rippled, like a curtain of snow lifting. Beneath their feet, a black lake emerged, its surface cracked and fragile. He saw it then. The moment again. The three of them, laughing on the ice. He saw her fall. He saw himself freeze. He saw Jimin hesitate. And he saw the lie. The one neither of them had spoken since. Jimin hadn't reached for her. Jimin had pulled asterisk back. Jungkook stepped closer to the frozen memory, staring at it from the outside, breath fogging the invisible barrier. "I never knew." "You weren't supposed to," Yoonha said. "He begged the mirror to rewrite your memory, to take the worst part of him and bury it." Jungkook's voice cracked. "He made me believe it was an accident." "It was," she said, "but not in the way you thought. The accident was trusting someone who loved too selfishly." He backed away, dizzy. "I don't want this. I didn't come here to asterisk stay." "But you came," she said, "and the mirror doesn't care why." He looked around wildly. "How do I get out?" "You don't," she said softly. "No," his voice hardened. "No, I don't accept that. If this is about balance, then I'll find another way. There has asterisk to be a way." She stepped closer. "There is, but it comes at a price." "What price?" "You." A shape stirred behind her. Jungkook's body tensed. Another version of himself, face torn in pain, eyes empty, stumbled into view, shivering, mouth open in a silent scream. "What is that?" Jungkook breathed. "The part of you left behind, the one who kept the truth, the one Jimin tried to erase." Jungkook's heartbeat thundered in his chest. "Why show me this?" "Because until you face him, you'll never be whole." He stepped toward the broken version of himself, hesitant, unsure. The other Jungkook looked up at him, eyes wide, filled with unspeakable grief. And then he spoke. "She didn't scream until I let go." Jungkook staggered back. "That's not true." "Yes, it is," Yoonha said from behind. "You didn't hold on long enough." Jungkook felt his legs weaken. "Why are you doing this to me?" he choked out. "Because you made a promise," she said. 7 lies, 7 truths, you have one truth left, the last one." His eyes burned, And then what? Then the mirror closes, forever. Jungkook faced the broken version of himself again. I was afraid, he said. Not of the ice, not of death. I was afraid of how much I loved you. The fractured Jungkook stared at him, and for a moment, something changed in his expression. The anguish softened. His body flickered, glitched, and then collapsed into light, dissolving into the air like mist. Yoonha stepped forward, placing her hand gently on Jungkook's chest. You've said the seventh truth. The lake cracked beneath them. The snow began to fall upward. Everything was unraveling. Yoonha looked into his eyes. You've given me peace, but this place only lets one of us go. No, Jungkook said, panic rising. Not again. I didn't come here to lose you again. You didn't come to save me, she whispered. You came to remember me. He shook his head. Don't do this. Don't leave me here. She kissed his forehead, soft and final. You're not a coward, Jungkook. You just forgot how brave you were. The world shattered. And he fell. Through light. Through water. Through memory. He opened his eyes with a scream, lungs aching, back on the basement floor. The mirror was gone. The tally marks were gone. So was Yoonha. Jimin was slumped in the corner, eyes swollen, wrists bleeding from where he'd gripped himself too hard. Jungkook sat up, tears falling silently. Jimin didn't look at him. He didn't have to. Because in the silence between them, one thing was clear. They had both loved her. And they had both failed her. But only one of them remembered how to hold on. You saw her again, didn't you? Jimin's voice was hollow, spoken into the darkness that lingered even after the mirror vanished. Inside. Jungkook sat still, his back against the crumbling wall, eyes red, wet, and far away. His fingers absent-mindedly brushed the floor where the mirror had stood. No shards, no trace, as if it had never been there, as if everything had only existed inside their heads. He didn't answer. Jimin turned to look at him, his face raw, no masks left. You brought something back. Jungkook finally moved, reaching into his pocket. When he pulled his hand out, a thin red thread dangled from his fingers. The ribbon, or what remained of it. Jimin recoiled. That should be gone. She gave it to me, Jungkook said softly. At the end, said it belonged to someone who remembered her name. Jimin stared at the thread like it was poison. I don't want it. You should. Why? Jimin stood now, his hands clenched, jaw tight with a fury he was too tired to control. So I can wrap it around my wrist like a confession, parade it like a trophy. No, I won't wear her forgiveness. It's not forgiveness, Jungkook said, rising slowly to his feet. It's weight, the kind you're not done carrying. Jimin's breath caught, shoulders stiff. Don't pretend you understand me. You didn't see what I saw. You did * do what I did. Jungkook stepped forward, voice rising. Then tell me the part you've still hidden even now. Jimin's eyes darkened. You want the full truth, he snapped. Fine. He walked to the far wall and pulled back a loose panel. Behind it, a bundle of folded parchment, dusty and torn. He threw it to the ground between them. Jungkook knelt, opening it. It wasn't a ritual page. It was a letter. Written in Yoonha's handwriting. To Jimin. Read it, Jimin said, aloud. Jungkook's voice shook as he obeyed. Jimin *. You won't understand this, not right away. But I'm writing it because I know you. You'll want to burn everything that reminds you of what we've done. Don't. Keep this. One day you'll need it. You think I don't know the truth? That I didn't see the way you looked at Jungkook when he wasn't watching. You never hated him. You envied him. And that's worse. I saw what happened that night. The ice broke. I fell. You hesitated, not because you wanted me dead, but because for one split second, you wondered what the world would be like without me in it. And when you pulled your hand back, I knew. I'm not angry. I'm just tired. So when the mirror opened, I gave it my name, because I didn't want to live as a secret or die as a burden. You didn't kill me, Jimin, but you didn't save me either. And that truth will haunt you until you stop looking at yourself like a victim. You are more than one mistake, but only if you stop running from it. Remember me, not the silence. Yoonha asterisk. Jungkook's voice faded. Jimin had crumpled to the floor, sobbing silently, his forehead pressed to the ground like he was trying to bury himself in it. I loved her, he whispered. God, I loved her so much. I know, Jungkook said, kneeling beside him. That's what makes this hurt. Jimin looked up, face soaked, lips quivering. She was never going to choose me. She already had. Jimin stared at him. She chose to forgive you, Jungkook said. And that's the cruelest kind of love, the kind that gives you freedom and expects nothing back. Jimin turned away, shame bending his spine. They sat in silence for what felt like hours. The room grew darker, the edges of the past curling inward like burnt pages. Finally, Jimin whispered, I still see her sometimes. So do I. She's happy. Jungkook didn't answer right away. She's waiting. For what? For us to live in a way that doesn't erase her. Jimin nodded slowly, tears still falling. How do we start? Jungkook placed the thread in his palm and closed his fingers around it. We remember, and we speak her name. They said it together. Yoonha. Outside, snow began to fall. Real snow. No illusions, no mirrors, just cold, clean flakes drifting from the sky like forgiveness. And for the first time since that winter night, it didn't feel like a punishment. It felt like a beginning. Spring came early that year. Not in blossoms or warmth, but in the way the snow melted more gently than usual, like it had finally finished morning. The basement was sealed. The mirror never returned. Whatever force had lingered beneath the floorboards, inside the walls, within their bones, it receded. It didn't vanish, but it rested. Jungkook and Jimin never spoke of the mirror again, not out of fear, but reverence. There are some truths you don't repeat, not because they're secrets, but because they're sacred. Instead, they lived. Jungkook started writing, not songs, not poems, but letters, dozens of them all addressed to Yoonha. Most he never sent anywhere. He left them in places she used to sit, the corner of the school library, the bus stop at the hill's crest, under the old tree by the lake. He wrote to her like she might still be reading. Jimin, for a long time, did not speak much at all, but he stopped hiding. He told the truth to Yoonha's family. He told them what they deserved to hear, even if it broke them. He returned her scarf. He cried on her mother's front steps, and when no one slammed the door in his face, he knew something had shifted. Time passed. Jimin learned how to breathe again, without apology. Jungkook learned how to dream without guilt. And then one afternoon, just before the thaw swallowed the last trace of frost, they both stood together by the edge of the lake. The water was calm. No wind, no shadows, just the reflection of sky. Jimin broke the silence. Do you think she's watching? I think she's resting, Jungkook replied. Finally. They stood there for a long time. Neither of them noticed the small red ribbon tied around the branch of a birch tree behind them, softly fluttering in the breeze, as if waving goodbye. Later that night, Jungkook found one last note beneath his pillow. The handwriting was delicate. You remembered. That's all I ever needed. E**. He folded it slowly, held it to his chest, and let the silence carry her voice one last time through the open window. Some losses never leave you. But some names, when spoken with love, don't haunt. They echo. And somewhere beneath the surface of memory, Yoonha smiled, unchained, unnamed no longer. Because someone finally held on. And never let go.